Today I'm going to be showing you how to take the door card off this VW T6 Transporter. Now this is a 2016 van, but as far as I know all the T6s are the same. Now there's a reason for taking this door card off today, because back when I converted this van, which if you haven't checked out any of them videos, please go and check them out on the channel. They will be listed down below in the description. But the reason for taking the door card off today is, like I say, when I did that conversion, the one thing I didn't do was sound deaden the front doors or even the front cab floor. The back end of the van was completely done, but like these things do happen, I'll do that later was the idea, which we're 5 years down the line now, so today is the later. So one of the reasons for doing the sound deadening is, I suppose the main reason is to hopefully make the cab sound quieter, but the other reason is see if the doors shutting can sound any better. Bit more like a golf, you might say. Right, first up, we need to pop this little cover off the door handle here. So this little cover here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take our trim tool and just work it in and just prise it and work our way along, and that should pop that off. Now with that little cover removed, we've got a screw in there, a screw in there, and if we have a little look around the rest of the door card, there will be a couple of fixings in the bottom here. Another one there, and there's also a screw in that hole there. Right, we'll grab a Torx bit, which I think these are different sizes. So we'll grab some Torx bits and whip these screws out. So we're going to take our T30 bit and take the two top screws out. So they're fairly straightforward. That's them two out. And then the one in the middle is a T25. For this middle one. There's that one out. And then for the two fixings at the bottom, you need a 10mm spanner, and they are a 1/4 turn. Like so. Just turn it until it lines up, and then that is it free. Same with this one. Just like that. So now we've got all of the fixings out and the two little kind of 1/4 turns turned so the card will pass over the top. We can now pull the door card off. Now basically, I'll show you once I get it off. There's little clips that hold the card on now. So basically you're going to trim tool again, just enter that in the bottom, use that to provide a little bit of prying force, and then pull, and you should, oh no, we've lost Acorn. Put him up there. So that is the clip popped. So that's one of the clips popped anyway. So you can see there's clear space around there. So we're going to work our way around, just doing the same sort of thing, popping them off as we go. Now once you get it opened up a little bit, you can actually start seeing where they are. Now this is where it's like a different type of trim tool does come in handy. So these are the type of trim tools I was talking about. Now once you get the card off a little bit, you can kind of look up underneath and you can see where the clips are. Now this tool just allows you to kind of go in and help pop the clip from the inside. Like that. So these clips are notorious for flying to bits. And just keep working your way from the bottom up over. So with all of the clips popped out, which is pretty much where we are there, the last thing that should be holding it in is the seal in the top of the door. Okay, so we're going to kind of lift it up now, and that should pop out of the seal in the top of the door. Just give it a bit of a wiggle. There we go. And that is the door card free. Now what we'll do is we shall unclip the harness and we'll see if we can get the door handle cable off so we can get it out of the way. Right, so this little harness here just unplugs. You just lift that little clip up and pull the harness out. And that is the little light for the alarm. And next up is the cable that actually releases the door. Now, I'm trying to get this so I can see it, but basically there's this little clip here. You just pull that back and that just clips off. And then that is that out of the way. Now at this end, it's probably easier just popping this whole piece out. You could have done this beforehand, but I like to just be able to get my thumb to the back side of it just to help prise it out. Now you want to get the front end out first, but just get your trim tool in, and they are quite tight. It just helps being able to push it from the inside, and then that comes out to there. Now I'll just drop that down a little bit. Now we can just unplug all of these little plugs. Now you shouldn't be able to get them wrong. So that blue one goes to the blue one, but that one's 4 wires as well. That one's got way more wires in it. So blue to blue, that one to the other one, and then the black one to there. And these have all just got little tabs. Press down and pull out basically. And this brown one's the same. Press down and pull it out. And this one's slightly different. The tabs at the top there on the side. And then that is that popped out. And that should now allow us to take the door card completely away. Now this is what them clips that are holding door card on look like. Now what you might find is like here, so this one actually popped out of the door card itself, but put them back in, providing they're not, I mean that one's lost a couple of the little lugs off the side of it, but it should be okay. I mean ideally you can get these off eBay, places like that. If you want to replace them, it's probably not a bad shout to have a couple spare ones handy if you're doing this job, but they just slide back into the door card like that. And like I say, just check them all before you put anything back together. Right, now we've got the door card off, we've exposed this panel and obviously the door. Now this panel, it holds the window regulator, motor, speaker, you know, a few bits and pieces of harness, that sort of thing. Now we could just put some sound deadening on this, which we will as well, but I think we're going to pop this off. So these are in the 10mm socket or spanner. Take this ring of bolts out all the way around here, and then hopefully we can get that panel to at least just come off enough. Ideally don't want to have to be taking window regulators or anything like that off, but as long as I can kind of get it off a bit so I can get a few panels of sound deadening on the outer skin of the door, I think that'll be a success. So I'll go around now and take these bolts out. Right, so it turns out that the window is basically attached to the back of this panel. So I've took these two bungs out here and here, and if you set the window to about that height, basically you can see in there is the clamp that holds the bottom of the glass, and the same there. So what we need to do is we need to put some tape around the glass to stop it falling down, to basically hold it up. So we'll attach some tape on here around the top, so around the top on the glass to hold it. We'll take them two clamping bolts out, and then that should allow this metal panel to separate from the glass. You see, we don't need it fully off, we just need it out the way enough so we can get some sound deadening stuck on the outer door skin. Right, well, we've got our tape on, and I've just slackened these clamping bolts. I haven't took them all the way out. I've just slackened them off, so it's slackened the clamp. Let's just get the rest of these bolts out, and then just maybe give it a wiggle. Give it a wiggle and see what it does. And this is basically what we are looking at now. Now, this was the little bracket that was stopping us getting away at the top, but in all honesty, it just kind of clips onto something else around there, and it's not needed to support what it's attached to behind there, from what I can see. And then it's not required to hold that, so I don't know what that's there for, but it's basically them two rivets. It's riveted on, so it's basically an example of fast fit manufacture, but not really designed to come apart. Now, don't know if there is any other way to get that out, but I mean, if you look in there, you can see how much space that isn't. But possibly took the outer door handle off, you'd maybe be able to get that out. But like I say, I don't really think it's doing that much anyway. But we can get into what we want to. I mean, you can see the factory sound deadening there. There's a little sliver there and another little sliver up here. So we are going to break out the Dodo mat and then get some more put on that outer skin. So this is what we're using as the sound deadening. Now, it is Dodo Mat Dead Easy, so I think it is the slightly cheaper range. So it's 20 sheets that size in the box I've got, which was $26.99, I think. So basically what it is a self-adhesive sound deadening, so it's a sticky side, and you can cut this fairly easily with a sharp Stanley knife. You do have to make sure the surface you're sticking it to is clean, so you want a good clean degreaser when you're putting it on the inside of panels. Make sure the panels are clean as well. Now, when I did the back end of this van, I went as far as literally covering every sort of bit of paint work or metal work, but I think, does it need to be to that extent? Probably not. I think if you get a kind of 60-70% coverage, and not worry about getting all the tiny little bits filled, I think, getting a few good lumps of this onto the panel will probably make a noticeable difference. So we'll get on now and get some of this mounted in behind this on the kind of the outer skin of the van, and then we'll get our panel put back in and the wind and everything remounted. Well, just to give you a little look, so that is 4 full sheets put in there. To be honest, I think that's probably all it really needs in there, to be honest. So that is that done. So we will start now and get the window, well, the frame and the window regulator and everything pushed back into place, and then get the window reattached to the frame. Right, well, that is the panel back on, and I've took the tape off the glass and just lower it back into the two little clamps. Now, we just want to obviously look in and make sure it's sat in the clamps and it's not kind of stuck on the edge of it or anything like that. and then just going to give these a little nip up. Obviously, you'll get an idea of how tight they were because you're clamping glass here. So you get a bit idea when you're slacking them off how tight they were to start with. Just want to give them a little nip. And then what I think we'll do is, just to make sure everything is all right, we'll plug the window controls back in and just give it a try. Whoa. Apologies, I've just checked the last few clips that I've filmed and something's gone wrong with the audio. So I'm just going to recap you. Probably the last clip you'd have seen is the window not going up and down properly. So what that turned out to be was our plastic bracket that was sticking out from inside the door that attaches to this panel. That was, I thought it would just basically sit in situ because the holes had pulled out where the two pop rivets had been. But what was happening was the back of the pop rivet was basically pushing that little bracket back out. That was catching when the window was going up and down and causing a problem. So what I've done is I drilled the two pop rivets out. Basically, you just had to be very careful drilling them out because I didn't want to take this back off. So just nice and carefully drilled them out. And then all is what I've done is I put a cable tie through this panel into the plastic bracket, across, and then back through the plastic bracket, and then back out. Nipped the cable tie tight, and that has got the bracket pulled tight and held against this metal plate again. So wherever I need to be in there in the future, I just need to snip that cable tie, and that will let go of the bracket, take this off again, and it's nice and easy to fit a cable tie. And it doesn't appear to be doing a great lot anyway, so I think a cable tie is more than adequate to hold that. Then what happened was, tried the window again, and it got further. There was no noises, but it did seem to get a bit tight, and then it didn't like it and dropped back down again. So all is what we did was lined the brackets back up in these holes, slackened them off, just moved the window a little bit in the bracket, nipped them back up again, gave it another try, and the window is working perfectly again there now. I will just show you that. So obviously that is down, no problems, and back up, no problems. For here, off the door card, because it's easier putting that in first and then fitting the door card after that. So now that we've got this panel back on, we'll get some sound deadening fitted to here, and we'll get our two bungs refitted and then go from there. Right, well, that is the sound deadening on that panel as well. Like I say, I haven't, gone absolutely mental with covering every mortal, tiny little bit. Actually, I might just try and get a little bit in this top corner just to finish that off. But you can see I've cut a few big bits up and then just use the kind of offcuts to fill in bits and pieces. But obviously you need to leave access to, like, say, that's where the screw goes in through the, you need to be access to here, the bits of harnesses and things. So you've just got to kind of get it on where you can. But I think I'll just stick a little bit in this top corner, try and get a little panel on in there, and then that'll do, and we shall get the door card refitted. Right, so I think we're at the point now of putting the door card itself back on. I'll put my little bit of sound deadening up here. Just want to mention as well, this stuff, when you're cutting it and then sticking it down, they say to use a roller or something, but just cover your fingers. Don't push it down with your fingers, because the edges of this stuff are really sharp. So if you've got a bit sticking out, or even just on a not cut edge, you run your finger along it, you'll get like a paper cut. So always just use something to push it down. Don't use your bare fingers and hands. Right, I shall grab the door card. Right, so we've got our door seal. So we're just going to a window seal. Just going to slide that in. and make sure it is pushed all the way down and clipped in and sitting as it should be. Right, so we need to connect a little bit of harness, and that plugs in to this little bit of harness that we unplugged earlier. And then we also need to reconnect the door cable, which is fairly just basically slots in and clips in. And then this menagerie of wiring will just pull through the hole in the top, so we can get that after. Just make sure it's in reach of there, and then you just need to line up the little central locking. Right, so we're going to start at the top, get that hooked in and pushed down. We've got that where we need it to be. Make sure that wiring's in there, and then just make sure that is about right. Now, the easy way to tell is you start looking in your holes, they should be lined up, and then also where the clips go in, you can kind of see the holes. Now, they should line up nice and easy. You shouldn't have to be pushing up or pulling it down. If you're having to do that, there's something isn't quite right, or there's something stopping you. What I would normally do as well is just to make sure you haven't got one of the plastic clips kind of sitting not quite where it's meant to be before you start knocking them on. Otherwise, you risk the chance of breaking them. But they're all kind of the tips of them are just starting to enter into the holes. So we can literally just give this a knock now. And then that is all the clips entered in. All that looks good. And then basically it's the reverse. So our two little clips on the bottom, your quarter turns to lock them in, screw in there, and screw in there. And then once you've got them screws in, we can put this little cover back on here, which it just should just clip in. Get everything lined up right. Easy as that. And then a bit of wire in here, so they all just reconnect nice and easily. And then this one, enter the bottom bit first and then push it down, and that is the job done. And I suppose the question everybody is asking, does it now sound like a Golf? Well, I'll let you be the judge of that. I think it sounds marginally better. I'll put the original clip on the screen, but that, so you can get an idea of what it was like before and what it is like now. Well, if you think it sounds any better, drop a comment down below and let us know if it does. Or if you've done this to your van, did it make it sound any better shutting the doors? And did it make a big difference to you driving the van? Now, I've still got the other side door to do, and I've still got the cab floor to do, but this video is just about doing the cab doors and how to take the door card off and that sort of thing. So if you've liked this video, please give it a like, and would love you to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this on the Transporter or any of the other project vehicles we've got on the channel. Go and check them out. And thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.